Artificial sweeteners may be silently accelerating brain aging. But here's where it gets really concerning. Even consuming the amount found in just one diet soda daily could significantly impair your memory and cognitive abilities. A recent study revealed that individuals with the highest intake of certain artificial sweeteners experienced a marked decline in their capacity to remember and retrieve words compared to those who consumed the least. Dr. Claudia Kimi Suamoto, an associate professor specializing in geriatrics and director at the Biobank for Aging Studies at the University of Sao Paulo, Brazil, led this research. She explained, participants who consumed the most low or no-calorie sweeteners exhibited a 62% quicker global cognitive decline relative to those with the lowest intake. In real terms, this equates to about 1.6 years of brain aging. To put these figures into context, those in the highest consumption bracket averaged 191 milligrams of artificial sweeteners daily, roughly the equivalent of a teaspoon. For comparison, a single can of diet soda sweetened with aspartame typically contains between 200 to 300 milligrams. According to data from the World Health Organization, people in the middle consumption group averaged 66 milligrams per day, and the lowest group only about 20 milligrams. Interestingly, the middle tier group still showed a 35% faster rate of cognitive decline than the lowest intake group, roughly translating to 1.3 years of brain aging. Dr. Sumoto emphasized, it's important to note that this study is observational. We cannot definitively claim that artificial sweeteners cause cognitive decline, but there is a clear association with adverse cognitive trajectories. Non-nutritive sweeteners, commonly found in ultra-processed low-sugar foods and diabetic-friendly products, have been widely assumed safe substitutes for sugar. However, this new research published in the American Academy of Neurology's journal Neurology challenges that assumption. Dr. Thomas Holland, who wrote an editorial alongside the study, warned the widespread belief that low or no-calorie sweeteners are safe alternatives may be misleading, especially given their prevalence in products marketed as healthier. Holland, an instructor at Rush University's Institute for Healthy Aging, also pointed out that the biological effects behind these findings are particularly important for clinicians managing patients with cerebrovascular diseases or cognitive impairment. In response, the International Sweeteners Association reaffirmed their stance, stating that artificial sweeteners remain a safe, effective method to reduce sugar and calorie intake, a critical public health objective for managing obesity and type 2 diabetes. They urge that the study's findings be weighed alongside the extensive, established scientific consensus supporting sweetener safety. The study observed nearly 13,000 Brazilian adults between ages 35 to 75 as part of the Brazilian longitudinal study of adult health. Participants' diets were recorded at baseline, and their cognitive functions, including verbal fluency, working memory, word recall, and processing speed, were tested 3 times over approximately 8 years. For beginners, working memory refers to our mind's ability to temporarily hold and manipulate information necessary for complex tasks like learning and problem solving. Verbal fluency relates to how quickly and easily we can produce suitable words, often tested by asking someone to list as many words as possible, starting with a certain letter. The decline in memory and global cognition was even more pronounced in people with diabetes, likely due to higher exposure levels and the underlying vulnerability diabetes imposes on brain health. Dr. Sumoto stressed, diabetes itself is a substantial risk factor for conditions like Alzheimer's disease and vascular dementia, potentially compounding the brain's susceptibility to harmful effects. She called for further research to explore whether natural sweeteners such as applesauce, honey, maple syrup, or coconut sugar might serve as safer alternatives. Moreover, the study found that individuals under 60 with high artificial sweetener consumption experienced faster declines in verbal fluency and overall cognition. This pattern did not hold true for those over 60, suggesting that dietary choices in midlife could have lasting impacts on brain health decades before symptoms arise. Holland noted, these results might encourage neurologists to rethink dietary guidance, especially for patients with diabetes, metabolic syndrome, or risk factors for cerebrovascular disease. The artificial sweeteners evaluated included aspartame, saccharin, acesulfame K, erythritol, xylitol, sorbitol, and tagatose. Notably, tagatose, a rare sugar found naturally in very few plants and produced commercially through chemical or enzymatic processes, showed no link to cognitive decline. In contrast, all other sweeteners were associated with faster declines in global cognition, particularly affecting working memory and verbal fluency. Products like saccharin, acesulfame K, and aspartame are classified as generally recognized as safe, GRAS, by the US Food and Drug Administration, FDA, with regulatory limits clearly outlined. However, the World Health Organization classified aspartame as possibly carcinogenic to humans in July 2023, a stance the FDA disputes, highlighting a continuing debate on safety standards. Erythritol, xylitol, and sorbitol are sugar alcohols found naturally in small amounts in foods like cauliflower, eggplant, spinach, and berries. Manufacturers commonly add them to products such as diet sodas, chew gums, candies, and keto-friendly desserts to temper the intense sweetness of other artificial sweeteners. Alarmingly, recent studies have indicated that erythritol and xylitol may promote clumping of blood platelets, raising the risk of COTS that could cause heart attacks or strokes. Dr. Stanley Hazen of the Cleveland Clinic, who led these investigations, called the Brazilian study both intriguing and concerning. Although it has limitations, like relying on self-reported dietary surveys, the large, diverse participant group and consistency of results among diabetic and non-diabetic individuals suggest the findings are credible. Dr. Hazen remarked, "Together with our data, this research adds to the growing body of evidence questioning the long-term safety of artificial sweeteners and challenges their GRAS designation. So here's the big question for readers. Given these findings, should we rethink our reliance on artificial sweeteners, especially if they're marketed as healthier options? Are natural sugar substitutes a better path forward, or is there more nuance to this story? Share your thoughts and let the debate begin.